Anyone who still believes the Chargers are just collecting talent without building a team capable of hurting the AFC needs to pay attention right now. The offensive line added a versatile rookie with a legitimate path to the roster. A defensive monster could suddenly hit the radar, and two players already in Los Angeles are carrying completely different stories about opportunity and value. There is no room to get comfortable here. Competition, pressure, and opportunity are arriving all at once. If you agree that potential means nothing until it becomes production, hit that like button, subscribe, and ride with me. Because today we're separating real hope from the kind of decision that demands courage. Logan Taylor did not arrive in Los Angeles with a red carpet, a savior label, or a guaranteed place on the roster. And honestly, that is exactly why this pick could become interesting in a hurry. The Canadian went from soccer to football, moved to another country, played across multiple positions in college programs, and turned technique, experience, and versatility into the Chargers' 6th-round pick at number 202. Now he steps into the most uncomfortable fight on this roster, finding answers along the interior offensive line. His resume tells the story of a player who has been forced to adapt at every turn. After redshirting at Virginia, Taylor started every game in 2022, transferred to Boston College, and earned honorable mention All-ACC recognition in both 2023 and 2024. In his final season, he became a team captain and started games at both guard spots and both tackle spots. That is not a small detail for a backup trying to survive roster cuts. A player who can cover 4 positions, with center being the only spot outside his range, saves roster space and gives you protection against the unavoidable chaos of an NFL season. But the standards have to be just as loud as the praise. Across 837 snaps in 2025, Taylor allowed 5 sacks and committed 6 penalties. His 70.8 overall PFF grade, along with a 73.7 run blocking grade and a 71.2 pass blocking grade, gives him a respectable foundation. It does not give him any guarantees. Lance Zierlein highlighted his awareness, length, and technique, but also pointed to a high pad level in the run game, vulnerability against interior power, and a tendency to lean too far forward in protection. In the NFL, violent defensive tackles turn those flaws into Justin Herbert getting driven into the ground. That is where this battle begins. Jake Slaughter, Trevor Penning, and Kayode Awosika appear closer to the first opportunities, while Alex Harkey is fighting for space in the same roster puzzle. Taylor has already worked with the second unit, and his ability to move across the line could become the deciding factor. His 4-year deal, reportedly worth about $4.65 million with $270,768 guaranteed, also makes him an affordable player to develop. I do not want to hear that a late-round pick only needs to show something. No, if the interior is the weak point, every candidate has a responsibility to attack that opening. Taylor may start out as depth, but he arrives with enough experience to make this decision uncomfortable. If he lowers his pads, holds up better against power, and proves those 5 sacks do not define his ceiling, he could go from a quiet developmental gamble to a useful answer much sooner than many people expect. But developing a rookie to protect Herbert is one thing. Seeing a crack in the market and attacking the physical heart of the defense is something else entirely. Vita Vea is caught in a contract standoff that should have Joe Hortiz feeling the weight of his phone in his pocket. According to NFL Network's Mike Garafolo, Tampa Bay is not close to an extension with the defensive tackle and does not seem to be in any hurry, even after Vea sat out mandatory work in June because of the contract situation. The veteran enters the final year of his deal with $17 million scheduled and no guaranteed money left. That leaves the Buccaneers facing a delicate choice. Baker Mayfield is also looking for an extension, but he has handled the process differently and has already made it clear that he does not plan to let it become a distraction during the season. Tampa can pay both, rearrange the timeline, or wait. They could also realize too late that they pushed a centerpiece of the defense beyond the point of no return. If Vea turns up the pressure as training camp report day approaches in late July, this stops being just a financial conversation and starts bleeding directly into the team's plans. This is where Los Angeles comes into the picture. There is no report that the Chargers have made an offer, opened negotiations, or received permission to speak with anyone. There is simply a situation worth tracking and a fit that practically screams at you. Vea is 31 years old, has made 2 Pro Bowls, and is not a 10-year solution. He would bring immediate mass, control against the run, and a presence that forces opposing offensive lines to change the math. For a team that says it wants to win in the trenches, that would not be a luxury. It would be an identity built on size, power, and controlled violence. Dalvin Tomlinson arrived on a one-year deal after Otito Ogbonnia left, and Khalil Mack came back. Those are useful moves, but useful is not the same thing as intimidating. With Jesse Minter gone, Jim Harbaugh has to make sure this defense does not lose its personality while leadership and responsibilities are being reshaped. Putting Vea in the middle would give the edge rushers more freedom to attack and make offenses far less comfortable running straight up the gut. That impact would not show up only in his personal sack total. It would show up in the third and longs he helps create. The price, of course, controls everything. Tampa is not giving away a starter of that caliber out of kindness, and Vea is looking for security as he moves toward the final stage of his career. Los Angeles would have to weigh the draft compensation, the extension, and the future salary cap impact. Aggression does not mean paying whatever it takes. It means being prepared to move when the football value outweighs the fear inside the front office. And I'll be direct. If the Buccaneers actually open that door, the Chargers cannot watch from a distance and later explain that they monitored the situation. Make the call, find out the price, set smart limits, and force Tampa to give you an answer. The AFC does not become any kinder because Los Angeles prefers caution. An available Vita Vea would change the ceiling of this defense. Ignoring that possibility on instinct would mean accepting a roster that looks strong on paper, but remains incomplete exactly where January demands toughness, composure, and brute force. While one giant could become an outside opportunity, a player already inside this offense is dealing with the cold reality of a system change. Kimani Vidal saved the running game when the door opened in 2025. Between weeks 6 and 13, while Omarion Hampton was out, he rushed for 525 yards and 3 touchdowns on 117 carries. After beginning 2 seasons on the practice squad, Vidal finally received a real workload and responded like a pro. Nobody can erase that. Nobody should dismiss that production as some convenient accident. But gratitude does not build a depth chart. Mike McDaniel arrives with an offense designed to attack horizontal space, speed, and quick decisions. And both Hampton and Keaton Mitchell look like more natural fits for that outside zone design. Hampton brings burst and the ability to carry the lead role. Mitchell threatens a defense with pure acceleration. Vidal gives you a straighter, more aggressive north-south running style. That is a useful weapon. It just may not be the first one the new coordinator reaches for. That makes this competition more difficult than it looks. Vidal could enter 2026 as RB3, see fewer touches, and still become indispensable in certain weeks. Injuries have already shown how quickly depth can disappear. Short yardage work, closing out games, pass protection, and special teams could keep his value high. The mistake would be asking him to win by trying to become Hampton or Mitchell. Vidal has to make his own difference impossible to ignore. His immediate future has some protection because of his contract status and the control Los Angeles can exercise as a restricted free agent until he completes his 4th season. That gives him time. It does not give him a role. If the offense truly moves toward a West Coast structure with a heavy outside running emphasis, he will have to earn McDaniel's trust from the beginning and prove his value even when he is not getting 15 carries. This is the part I love. Competition without sentimentality. Vidal has already proved he can handle the work when the team needs him. Now he has to prove he still deserves a place when the roster is healthy and faster. I do not want to see him pushed aside simply because newer names shine brighter, and I do not want him protected from a legitimate battle because of what he did yesterday. I want the best backfield possible. If Vidal responds again when everyone expects him to fade, the Chargers will have 3 different running styles and an insurance policy most teams do not appreciate until the season starts breaking bodies and destroying plans. And then we get to the player who almost never makes headlines until the game is hanging on 3 points. Cameron Dicker is the kind of advantage a smart team protects before the rest of the league understands what it is worth. Los Angeles found him after Philadelphia released him from the practice squad, elevated him while injuries hit the position, and watched an unheralded kicker turn pressure into routine. In 2022, he made 19 of 20 field goal attempts. In 2023, he went 31 of 33. What looked like a temporary patch quickly became a standard of excellence. Before the 2024 season, the Chargers signed Dicker to a 4-year deal worth about $22 million. At the time, that placed him among the 5 highest-paid kickers in the league. The market has moved since then. Chris Boswell and Brandon Aubrey landed 4-year, $28 million extensions, while Dicker remains locked in at roughly $5.5 million per year through $20 million per year through 2028. He is still paid like an important player at the position, but the gap between his production and his cost is beginning to work heavily in Los Angeles' favor. And this production is not just a fan's impression. His career field goal percentage of 93.5% stands as a historic benchmark for accuracy. According to KVA, a metric designed to measure the value added by kickers, Dicker has ranked among the league's 5 most valuable at the position in each of the last 3 seasons. He may not have the ridiculous range associated with Brandon Aubrey or Cam Little, but he converts with the kind of consistency that keeps a coaching staff from making desperate decisions. That matters even more for a roster built to play meaningful games. The playoffs are not a laboratory where you find out whether your kicker can handle the weight. A season can swing because a possession ends with 3 points instead of 0, because the coach trusts the attempt, or because the offense does not panic while chasing 5 extra yards. Dicker gives this team that floor. At 25 years old, he combines youth, track record, and cost control at a position where confidence can disappear after 2 bad weeks. Sure, kickers are volatile. No past percentage guarantees the next kick, and evaluating the position requires context. Distance, weather, stadium, and moment. But this deal does not need Dicker to sit at the top of every ranking to be excellent. It only needs to keep paying below tomorrow's market rate for above-average performance. If Cam Little and Will Reichard pass his annual value with their next deals, Dicker could finish this contract around the 8th highest salary at the position while still producing at an elite level. So I'm opening the Bolt Fam war room. Do not pick the loudest story. Pick the decision that gives Los Angeles the best chance to win a game in January. Is it accelerating Logan Taylor's development? Finding out what Vita Vea would cost? Preserving a real role for Kimani Vidal? Or recognizing that Dicker's contract is already one of the best assets on this roster? Give me the priority and the argument, because building a contender is not about collecting names. It is about knowing where to spend, where to develop, and where to be thankful you acted before the market exploded. The message from these 4 stories is brutally simple. The Chargers cannot manage this season like they have unlimited time. Logan Taylor must turn versatility into trust. The Vita Vea situation demands aggressive attention. Kimani Vidal will have to fight his way back into the rotation. And Cameron Dicker is already showing how getting ahead of the market rewards competence. Different paths, one standard: production when the pressure rises. In the comments, rate this roster's ability to win in the playoffs from 0 to 10, and tell me what it needs to reach 10. Subscribe to follow every move. Los Angeles already has the energy. Now it has to unleash it in January.